Hello, everybody. This is Monster Talk Live, and today we're going to be talking about possession. My name is Matthew Baxter.
And I'm Karen Stolzner. Hi, everyone.
And I'm Blake Smith.
Thanks for joining us. So we've been promising a month of possession, and yes, we've started a little bit late in the month, but we're here and we're going to get possessed.
So I wanted to show some of my possessions. I have this
any opportunity
bass guitar.
Well, that's why this house is so possessed.
I do a lot of communicating. So
Blake, you wanted to say a word before we get into things.
Oh, tonight. yeah. So briefly, can you guys hear me okay?
Can hear you, yes.
Excellent. Okay. I wanted to talk about, we're going to be talking about exorcism, and we're largely going to be talking about that in the sort of Judeo-Christian terms, mostly just Christian terms, I guess, Catholic and Protestant. But the idea of demons is an ancient one. We've had a friend of the show, Joe Laycock, actually put together a book called The Penguin Book of Exorcisms, which we could link to in the notes. And it has examples of how to get rid of demons going back to like ancient Babylonian times. Yes. And it's funny because what's a demon? I mean, it has a different meaning in a lot of different religions. I think in Christianity, it's typically seen as a fallen angel. But in Islam, there's also angels and demons, but they also have jinn, which are a special creation from Allah, and they're made of smokeless fire. But they can also possess people, or they can act on their own and have their own, lives separate from that. But so they kind of behave in some ways like we would think of demons or poltergeists, but they are not demons; they're jinn.
And they can come out of a bottle.
Yeah, well, that's what I've heard is that slowly over time turned into the genie in the bottle granting wishes. Is that actually? Can you follow that line?
That's more of a Victorian thing where like they took stories like the Arabian Nights, which is not really. That's not a religious text. It's a very fun folkloric kind of text.
It's not a religious text,
right? And then of course now there's the sort of Disneyfication version where and the I Dream of Jeannie and those sort of things. But that's I don't know. I lived in the Middle East for a while, and I never saw any reruns of I Dream of Jeannie. I don't think it would be well received there.
But yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, demons do. A lot of people think, oh, Jesus Christ was the first exorcist, but no, absolutely. Demons and
thousands of years before that, people were
Babylonia to ancient Greece, ancient Rome, ancient Egypt. They all had rituals and spells and different kinds of things to ward off demons and to exorcise them. So yeah, there's not something we made up.
Right? No, but and then Christianity kind of treats every other religion as demonic and deviltry, and so like we've talked about voodoo before, and they have this idea of the Loa, which possesses people and rides them temporarily. You invite them in, you get insight and powers temporarily, and missionaries hate that. I mean, like Christian missionaries, really not fond of that at all.
Well, it's interesting that you say that too, because often in Judeo-Christian beliefs about exorcisms and possession, that you could be possessed if you believe in or practice false religions, which is every other religion. If you practice idolatry. So it's you do see a lot of, I think, contradiction in all of this theory, that there are some things that are believed to invite demons in, and yet at the same time, that same kind of things that can repel them. So it doesn't make much sense.
Yeah. And we should mention in Japan, they have the Oni, which are a kind of demon. Although, and again, I'm not an expert on Japan and China and the way that those cultures deal with this idea, but most of the reading that I've done has been treating demons as monstrous entities that can cause illness and
bad luck.
Fortune, bad luck. Yeah. And you do exorcise them, but it's driving them out of your house or out of your business or out of your land,
out of your body.
Right. Yeah. Well, see, and I couldn't find a lot of examples of personal possession. But I gotta believe it's there. I mean, it seems like it's in every culture, this idea that you could be overcome by demonic control. And you think about, I mean, if you want to be super skeptical about it, the idea of like people having epileptic seizures or certain mental health issues, the idea that that's caused by demonic oppression is still widely believed all over the world. I saw sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think that the idea of a body being possessed is something that is common to Catholicism and also to deliverance ministries. And that's really something that goes back maybe to the 1960s, and not the Catholic Church one, that goes back obviously a lot further, at least to the 17th century and before then. Yeah, I mean, so that's definitely there. And then, as you say, with voodoo too, you're inviting a spirit to possess you, and so you can party or worship or whatever.
Yeah. Assigning it to like every kind of mental illness as being a form of demonic oppression is, I think it feels really medieval, but I mean, people like are still practicing it today. Like they're trying to use, exorcism and, religious rituals, laying on hands and prayers, anointing with oil, all these sort of things to sort of like heal and drive out evil. And I don't, I'm, this is unsurprising for anybody who watches the show. I'm super into science and medicine as being, evidence-based, rational approaches to these kind of things. And sometimes I feel like I have these sort of mixed feelings, because if someone thinks they're being demonically oppressed and you perform, let's pretend it's a harmless ritual and it brings them relief, is there a problem with that? I don't think so. But then
depends on the situation.
There's some real horror stories, which I know you guys would know really well about the way these demon exorcisms can go horribly wrong. And I guess we'll probably touch on some of that tonight.
Well, not only that, with I guess so-called professional exorcists, but there are so many cases all the time. You could just go and look it up in the news to Google exorcism or demonic or something like that. And there are lots of people who take it into their own hands. A lot of people who are religious or otherwise who think that their children are possessed, and just many unfortunate cases of kids being injured seriously or even dying because their parents or their family or friends have attempted exorcisms on them.
And I think it's important to point out that a lot of times news coverage will come from things like an exorcism goes wrong in Africa or something, and it's like, oh, those people, they're living in this happens everywhere.
Absolutely. America, Canada, Australia, England, New Zealand, all the Anglophone countries. It's absolutely going on all the time. But I must add too, just to try and lighten the mood a little bit.
Good.
We've had, well, maybe not for you. We've had a request that someone or one of us exercise the puns out of you.
Oh no. That sounds like trouble. I don't.
I think it's impossible.
Yeah. Would I even
maybe we could
anymore?
Reduce them or something?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, would I even be me though? That's the thing. Would I be me? I don't think so. So
no, we won't do that. But yeah, I mean, there's so much to discuss here because again, we promised a month of possession, but that incorporates a lot more than just possession. Also, exorcisms and exorcists. And there's just really so much that we can talk about here. I mean, as you said, what is a demon? I mean, it's not only demons that are exorcised, but also Satan himself, and also evil spirits and any kind of spirits, I guess, that could be unwanted. I think we're going to talk a little bit later too about kind of psychic exorcisms and cleansings and things like that. And sometimes your house might be possessed, or you might be possessed by a spirit that's not necessarily a malevolent one, but the one that needs to be helped to cross over to the other side, like a chicken or something.
There is that. Well, that you think about it though, like if the idea is you're investigating weird phenomena, the framework that you look at the phenomena from will impact how you approach it. So if you come from a culture where jinn are commonly possessing people, and you're seeing things flying around and people acting possessed, you might think jinn. If you see those things in your maybe SPR kind of investigator, you might think poltergeist. And if you are a Catholic, like the Warrens ostensibly were, you would maybe think it's always demons. So like that lens that you bring to bear on it is going to have a big impact on how you determine what's going on and how to behave. I do like the fact that I know Matt's got the exorcism, the exorcist image in the background. I love the fact that movie starts out with the mom trying to go the science route. Like that's right. At least, they run that through before they flip over and go to the priest. And even when they go to the priest is a psychologist. I mean, he's treating it first and foremost as a psychological phenomenon, not a spiritual one. So yeah, but it wouldn't be a good movie if they did not give us full, green spit and everything. So
yeah, Mrs. Dr. Atlantis was wondering if Karen and I were actually in the same house.
Looks the same. What was the difference?
Yeah. Yeah. You can't.
Has she not heard of different rooms? I mean, I assure you, our bedroom looks different than this, right? So, so way more handcuffs up there. So what's
there's a lot of floating. There's a lot of floating going around in the room that I'm in usually. So it's normal. It's normal.
Funny.
Yeah, I was going to say something brilliant and it just went poof. So Karen, you go ahead, say something brilliant.
I was just going to say Blake's right in saying that, the Catholic Church ostensibly is supposed to investigate physical and psychological reasons that might underlie claims of possession before they do an exorcism. And you kind of got two camps there. I think there's one camp where people say exorcisms are happening all the time. And it's supposed to be the case that I think in each diocese of the United States that there is a professional trained exorcist who's appointed to that diocese and to that district. And I don't think that that's necessarily the case in practice. So you just got these two camps anyway, where people say, well, exorcisms are happening all the time in the Catholic Church, and then other people saying they're very, very, very rare. And so not necessarily the case when it comes to the New Age or to deliverance ministries and places like that. But certainly with the Catholics, they claim that they're very cautious before they do an exorcism of any kind.
Well, I think they used to be.
Yeah.
In the last 2 decades, I think that's kind of gone down the tubes a bit. And they were like trying to get as many exorcists trained as they could because of the epidemic of demonic possession, going around the world. So the big turnaround, I think, came with the new Pope at the time, was pushing that. And then we had Gabriel Lamorth that.
We got a picture of him.
Unfortunately, we do. He does look a little like Uncle Fester, just a little.
There he is. Here. God bless his soul. He passed a couple of years ago now, but he was the chief exorcist of Rome until his departure, and he claims that he performed, I think, about 70,000 exorcisms.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And I really think that the way he did that wasn't necessarily that he was doing individual one-on-one exorcisms, but he was technique.
Yeah, for numbers. He had a good technique for getting numbers.
Yeah, well, I think he basically would bless or exercise an entire
quietly
audience.
Go into the train station and just cast out all the demons when nobody's looking.
Yeah.
It's like that kind of thing. So that'll run your numbers right up.
Well, there is, there is a thing where people can do intercessory exorcism, I think it's called, where you can get someone exorcised from afar. So I guess it's like a kind of Reiki. You can perform it.
Well, and then if you have mass exorcism, and that means something totally different in Catholicism, right? With exorcism at a mass or mass. Anyway, they have. I know that there was that news story going around about them trying to drive up the number of exorcists, And at the same time, it always feels to me like the Catholic Church is kind of like America in a sense, where there are some pretty big divisions within the church between the people who maybe have a more liberal view of the stuff, and then a much more conservative, almost evangelical view.
Roman Catholic Church.
Yeah. So
yeah,
it's I find that fascinating. It's obviously complicated, but I bet you our listeners are here to hear about the exorcisms, so they probably want us to get us to drive some stuff out.
Well,
so
have you ever, Blake? Have you ever witnessed an exorcism before?
Sadly, only on TV. That I've and those were, primarily in sort of Pentecostal church scenarios.
Okay.
I've seen healings and like I say, anointing of oil sort of ceremonies, and those come across as.
Sorry, I'm having trouble connecting to the internet.
Sorry, Alexa. let me just unplug her.
Yeah.
Demons be gone.
Exactly. The demon of Jeff Bezos says, but don't say his name 3 times. Yeah.
And say it once.
Yeah, I
Then you have
accidentally
to say
invoked the
Elon
Alexa.
Musk backwards.
So
Yeah.
I tell you, I keep saying Alexa and setting up these things, and it gets quite serious. So
The exorcism's clearly
just
not working.
Googles the mind, doesn't it?
it does. It does.
But I guess we can talk about some of the signs of possession. And I think that those really differ, because if you go back to the Bible, those signs are blindness or being nonverbal, having a disability. Those were the kinds of things that Jesus was casting demons out of people over. And then if you go back hundreds of years, then we're talking about things like xenoglossia, where someone purports to be able to speak languages that are not known to them, unknown languages, alien languages, all that kind of thing, to have supernatural strength. Matt, I think you know a lot of these signs going back throughout history. Don't you?
I mean, they really, we've already done a debased on a true story of The Exorcist,
Right.
And we talked about a lot of these, having kind of a precognition, having knowledge of things that they couldn't know about, being able to speak other languages, the superhuman strength. There's all of these types of things that they look for supposedly, and they do their best supposedly, again, to discredit, unless it's been in the last 20 years, and then they look for those to immediately credit them.
Right. All these powers, when they manifest, that's called a demonstration. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
But if you look at deliverance ministries, then the signs are a lot more mundane and everyday. I mean, anything could be a sign of possession. It could be that you're having headaches, that you're suffering depression, anxiety.
That you do yoga.
You do yoga or martial arts.
Or what you want deliverance ministries. Also, if you squeal like a pig, that would be another sign. So,
but really,
okay, sorry.
If you personally know Ned Beatty, there could be a problem.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's just everyday things. If you're having a run of bad luck, just really simple things. You're sick. You have a disease.
If you're into cosplay.
That runs parallel. So I love my mother. I don't think she watches this. Hey, Mom. But she has what I like to call a low threshold for the miraculous. Like, so anything that happens, she sees as a miracle, Right. So I think that sounds very similar. Like it's sort of like a low threshold for demonic oppression. Like anything that goes wrong is the demonic, right?
Yeah. Well, I guess
Right.
it's the other side. Yeah.
It's the same thing for ghost hunters. I mean, when a ghost hunter comes into your house, if something creaks or pops or snaps or, whatever, it's a ghost. And this new breed of exorcists are so excited for an opportunity to pretend like they're exorcising somebody. Anything is a sign. Anything. I know I've done exorcisms on Banachek, just because
did they work?
Magic is a bad thing. It's evil. So,
yeah.
but
I think it's all all in the interpretation. I think someone prays for their football team to win and they win, and it's an act of God. And
if my team wins, it totally is. That's
there you go. But you're right, a really low threshold where
you can almost hear my wife upstairs say he doesn't even know a football team. That's
yeah.
Sorry.
But and I guess thinking of other things too, that being gay is a sign that you're somehow for some parts of the country in particular. But
Yes.
then you have all of the things that can cause possession too. So I don't know. I mean, in the Bible, I guess we're really talking about bad luck. It's not really
or
necessarily
sickness.
that I mean that you haven't necessarily invited.
Right.
Satan
By no
or,
action of your own, you've received this. Yeah.
Or
happens.
you've got a generational curse. So
True.
one of your ancestors committed murder or something like that. It's generational.
Right.
Those are definitely things to watch out for.
But
and then you've got through. So you'd like to say no fault of your own, but listening to the wrong person, give advice or minister can cause you to be possessed as well. So it really.
Well, certainly today, I guess it's things like playing with the paranormal. So like Matt's Ouija board guitar there, playing with tarot cards, astrology, gambling, pornography. I mean, just about anything that people who see themselves as, I guess, do-gooders don't like, then that's somehow going to open a door or a portal to demons and to Satan. And
that's always troubled me. And of course, I grew up in a very religious family, and we were very evangelical fundamentalists. And to me, I didn't run into a lot of demonic, like there was this idea of demonic oppression, but being possessed did not come up at all, because it ran counter to the idea that if you'd accepted Jesus, you're protected. And you've got the power to cast out demons in his name, but you don't need to go to a special class. It's just one of your super Jesus powers when you become a Christian,
Right.
Which that's a Protestant kind of view, whereas the Catholics have the rite of exorcism. But, not being a theologian nor a religious studies expert, I don't know the full spectrum of, what's accepted and what's not. But this idea that through no fault of your own, even as a Christian, you could become demonically oppressed or possessed has always troubled me. It's like, what's the point of, all the, faith if it can't even keep out incidental, exorcism. Whoops, I touched the Ouija and now I got it, so you caught devil cooties, right? So
and you're supposed to have been, vaccinated.
Exactly. I think Jesus should be a great vaccine against evil. If theoretically, that's the way I was raised, so it's like, I don't know. I think it underpowers Jesus in the theology if just any old demon can come along and take a Christian over. That's nuts, in my opinion.
Yeah. Right.
They don't ask me. I'm not really,
And there's probably a reason for that. You would ruin so much.
And not being religious myself and growing up in a secular country, it's just not something I've ever even thought of. But I can imagine that would be a huge fear for a lot of people.
Well, it is a fear. And what I don't want to be afraid. If I'm going to believe a supernatural power and that he cared so much that he sent his son down and to live here and give me a redemption and a protection, what does it say about his power if I'm constantly being afraid? It's not. Yeah. Why would we want to live? I mean, why would? Okay, so it doesn't make any sense. I'm not in that world anymore. But even while I was deeply in it, I thought that was all really silly. I thought it was really silly. So I was I was way more scared of zombies than demons.
Sure.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but zombies. That's possible.
Exactly.
As Florida has demonstrated. So.
Yeah.
Many times.
Yes.
But I suppose we should talk. Oh.
Well, I was just going to say really quickly, because I know we do want to get to the exorcisms that Karen and I have witnessed and had some fun around.
You have some exciting stories to tell us.
Yeah,
indeed.
Yes. But when I talk about these stages of possession, before we get there, because there's some say 3, some say 4. We're going to discuss 4 just really quickly. We'll fire through them. Number 1 is infestation, and that's going to be, well, yeah, itchy. Yeah. No, it's going to feel like your house is haunted. You're going to hear knockings and poltergeist activity, and that's kind of infestation. And then you've got oppression. And I think that's where we're getting more into the, the bad luck and, sleep disturbances and stuff just really, starting to weigh down on you. And then we've got obsession. And obsession is, it's interesting because that the person who's being afflicted suddenly just can't concentrate and everything. And they've got this obsession with this idea that something is trying to invade. And then you got the flat out possession. And we don't need to really discuss what that is because I think we've already have been. But those are kind of the 4 stages that used to be. And I don't think that those 4 stages qualify when you're talking about someone like Bob Larson, and who we need to talk about now, because that's where Karen and I, it's an interesting thing. A lot of these subjects, when we're talking about voodoo, we're talking about the Catholic exorcisms, and we're talking about Bob Larson. I highly recommend picking up this book, and this is God Bless America. This by Karen Stolzno.
Spun the wrong way to me. But...
and we'll say if the people that are watching this can see this the correct direction, that's fantastic. But it does say Karen Stolzno at the bottom. This book covers these subjects really well, and it covers our
from
experience.
A Judeo-Christian perspective, so I don't really go into
well, you also
Islam
talk about voodoo. You talk about, because you're talking about things that are happening here in America.
Yeah.
And that's where it gets really interesting. This stuff is closer to home than I think a lot of people realize when we're talking about the States. So, and people from around the world are going to be watching and listening to this, and they'll get a view of just how, like they don't already know how insane America is. They'll get a
we
view.
did
only in America.
It's very on brand for the book's cover to be reversed. Again, what's the title again? God bless America. But the
one more opportunity to
as
show
you can
it.
see,
very demonic.
if you read it backwards, there it says "Turn me on, dead man." So that's weird.
yeah.
So I don't know what that means. That's kind of creepy.
Join us. But I think before we get into Bob Larson, and I'm not too sure either.
So we're not going to call him Bob Larceny, because that's really what I want to do.
Yeah,
it's a good name for him.
Yeah, it fits.
A great.
So
name.
I don't know if Blake was going to talk about anything in particular as well. Or if you just want to.
I just want to kind of run over some of the historical things. I've been reading a lot of, and we've been doing this magic series intermittently, and I've been reading a lot about witchcraft and demons and magic.
So you've opened a portal.
Yeah, well, that's what happens. That's what happens. But in case someone's missed out on some of those episodes, one of the big discoveries I had was growing up. I was always, told steer away from these kinds of books about these topics. And when I actually got a hold of like some of these books, which are like catalogs of demons or how to summon demons and all this sort of thing, almost all of them are written from a Judeo-Christian perspective that demons are real and they can do stuff for you, but they only do so if you command them through the power of God. It's this other idea of like demonic stuff about like summoning with circles and using special, verbal formulas. It has some prehistory to the 1900s and 1800s, but a lot of it comes out of Alpheus Levi in France in the 1800s. He sort of was trying to systematize magic. And I think that led into things like the Golden Dawn and Aleister Crowley, and they were following the same kind of this idea. I mean, they're using magic, but largely within a Judeo-Christian context, or they're using magic, but they're not doing it in the kind of the way that symbolically is typically shown in fiction, like where there's devil worshipers are killing people and doing these kind of, like there's a Satanism that exists as a fantasy in Christianity, that this imaginary version of Satanism, which is full of cults and conspiracies, and the devil's always out there trying to mess with you. And I think it's important to know that that's largely, and I don't mean this lightly, I mean it strongly, it's largely just made up. It's a boogeyman, literally a boogeyman from the church against the thing that doesn't really exist. It fits right in with the satanic panic stuff that we talk about all the time. And it's deeply troubling because as much as I enjoy this stuff fictionally, many people see The Exorcist as a documentary. Like
Sure.
it's a terribly frightening way to live, and it's unnecessary. And I hope that reason and rationalism can help get people out of that kind of thinking. So you don't have to be oppressed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Speaking of magic, you ready for your minds to be blown?
yeah.
See this Rubik's Cube? Okay, watch this.
No, it's yellow.
Oh, it's gone.
Wow.
It's amazing what the
Getting
green side will do.
Possessed here with this magic.
Yeah.
But I think before we talk about Bob Larson, we should just briefly mention Catholic exorcisms and just how much more formal they are. And so there is a manual for how to perform an exorcism in the Catholic Church. And so that goes back to, it's a book called Of Exorcisms and Certain Supplications. And it was written in about 1614. And I'm trying to think who it was. It was what Pope it was. I can't remember. Pope Paul V, I think. And that he was concerned about possession, and so he had this book put together. But I think in some ways a movie like The Exorcist gives you a little bit of an insight into how a Catholic exorcism would be performed. And if you look at someone like Bob Larson or these other deliverance ministers, they're going to do an exorcism, and I guess like Gabriel Lamorth to a certain point, it's just going to be this really brief thing, even like an exorcism going back to the Bible too, where Jesus is just casting Satan out of someone's body. It could just be a single sentence. But usually in the Catholic Church anyway, it's a person's going to have multiple exorcisms and, over days and weeks and months. But I thought, Matt, you might like to just talk briefly about that, but also pointing people to Based on a True Story episode where we talk about The Exorcist. We really go into a lot of information about
Yeah, if you hop into the playlists after this episode is over, obviously we want you to watch to the end, and click
binge
that like
some
button.
monster talk.
Yes, binge on some monster talk YouTube. If you go to the playlist, you'll see our Based on a True Story playlist, and you'll be able to see The Exorcist right there. And we really do, talk a lot about, behind the scenes, what exorcisms are and those kind of things. So, and I'm not sure if I answered what you were wanting me to answer there, Karen. But
well, yeah, I thought you might want to go into the Roland Doe case a bit, but then we really cover that so well, I think, in the Based on a True Story.
Yeah. I mean, because that's really where The Exorcist kind of came from. Is William Blatty was reading this news report, this news story that I believe it was in the 40s of this young boy in Mount Rainier, if I'm remembering properly or correctly. And he went through quite a series of exorcisms. And this really, got Blatty thinking, could this be true? And he spoke with his priest because he was Catholic. And his priest was, oh, absolutely. And I believe he even got him in touch with one of the priests that performed the exorcism or took notes during it. I can't remember. I didn't get a chance to pull up all the notes on that beforehand.
There's a big report on it, though. Big
report. And from that, he was inspired to write The Exorcist. So the fact that it's, based on a true story is very loosely based because most of it's imagination. And but it's an incredibly well done both book and movie. So
yeah, and I think recently the real name came out of the boy. I can't remember what it was, but he lived a full life. I always, in reading the original case stuff, I wonder how much of it was people doing the thing where every little weird thing that goes on now becomes part of the possession. Like, I mean, not that, and we saw in the recent case, was it St. Louis, where they had Zach Bagans' demon house that he bought. where the kids were acting up, and the people who witnessed it, and I think they may have been strongly influenced by their Catholicism, saw behaviors that sound supernatural if you believe what they say. I personally think they were basically exaggerating what happened. Yeah. So I mean,
absolutely. What people walking up walls and
walking up walls. So physics says no, but I have seen people do some pretty amazing things as kids, like running and flipping and backflipping and that kind of thing.
And you saw the video of the kid doing that, right? I mean, they did catch him on video doing it.
No, I did not see that video, but I've seen lots of kids flipping. It is exactly what it is.
It is that. It's just this kid just doing this little flip off the wall, and it's
which
nothing.
I've always wanted to do. I'd like to do that. And I'd like to be able to kip up off a wrestling mat, but sadly, gravity continues to where I have to go to the moon so I can do those tricks. It's like that's not really code or anything. I just I need lower gravity. That's all. So
indeed.
And so we got Roland Doe. We haven't really talked about it, but we're going to be talking about it. So I don't want to dig into it too deep. But the Annalise Michel case is probably worth mentioning.
Some of Emily Rose. Yep.
We're gonna dig into that really deeply in our next based on a true story.
Yeah, and that's a super tragic story that has unfortunately the woman or young lady being exorcised doesn't make it. So little spoiler, but we'll go into a lot more detail in our coverage there. So
that's also further to the idea that people supposedly require multiple exorcisms, and I mean she underwent a lot.
One of the things that I find troubling about some of these exorcism ministries is obviously from a scientific perspective, it's indistinguishable from theater. That's one thing, but it's the number of people who have these exorcisms performed and then come back again later with a new demon or repossessed. I'm really furiously trying to not make any repossession jokes. So just, but I do wonder about that, and how efficacious is it as a solution if you just keep coming back? That doesn't seem right.
I think it is a cathartic thing for the exorcisms that Matt and I have witnessed, that people do feel better afterwards. They feel like they've been cleansed or purified in some way. But it is just a temporary thing.
Dragged behind a truck is another explanation of how they felt. So
well, I see. As a description, they've described it that way. Yeah. Got it. It depends on the person. Some of them look very physically vigorous. It looks like they would be exhausting. Yeah. So
that's the thing that we're going to get into now. I mean, it really is like a kind of psychodrama, really, that the Satanists get into. It is role playing, and it's everyone's performing. It's a kind of like a stage hypnosis too. Matt knows a lot about that, where if you go to Las Vegas and see a show and you're taken up on stage and you're told that you're going to be put under, and then you're going to start clucking like a chicken, or take off all your clothes and think that you're a stripper, you're going to play along with it. I mean, certainly you'll get people who will dig their heels in and not do it. And that might be,
so many. And when I get up there, I take off my clethes, and I'm like, when is the audience going to show up? Is that really
any excuse for you? Yeah.
So let's talk about this. I have a particular angle. I know you guys have done a lot of research and real life experience here, but let's say you want to experience one of these sort of deliverance ministry, possession, exorcism things. How do you find out about it? Like, what is it? Is it a thing where they just show up at your church, or do you see a bill? Like, where how is it advertised? Like, let's just so before I even ever go into the place, how am I told what I'm going to be experiencing?
Often you're on a mailing list.
Ooh, okay.
And that'll be the thing. Every once in a while, there'll be an advertisement that'll come up, even like on Facebook or something. And I'm talking specifically about Bob Larson. Here. Now, of course, I was part of Bob Larson's mailing list
For way too long.
For way too long. And it's funny because I was going through a lot of the emails. And I will have to comment on this after we talk about this. But Bob Larson, he started off as a disc jockey and a failed rock star who turned his attention.
Played guitar.
Yeah. So he turned his attention, since he failed so pathetically, to rock music itself and how evil it was, because it obviously rejected him. So that's kind of where all this started. He turned it around and started attacking rock music and musicians and how evil they are. And then that just kind of led him down the road to start doing exorcisms.
It seems like a natural progression.
Yeah, very natural for this man. Yes. So he started putting out books. I won't say he wrote them himself, but that's a different story. But I will show you just a couple of titles. Now, this was a very, very early one. This was a novel that he didn't write it. He just has his name on it.
It was ghost written for him. Yeah, that was a big deal.
Wait,
back to the 90s.
Is it ethic if you're working like as a demon exorcist? Does it make sense to work with ghosts?
So, to him, it's all demons, so it's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of scandals that are associated with his ministry. That's the Spiritual Freedom Church.
The demons are attacking his ministry from every angle. They really are. And
he used to be in Denver as well, so I think that's one of the reasons why Matt was kind of attuned to his things that he was doing. I mean, he has been pretty prolific in this country, but he's moved around. His ministry's moved around. But yeah, he wrote this book, and it's a very salacious novel.
Christian porn.
It's about Christian porn. It's about the satanic panic, and there's incest and all different kinds of sex and bestiality and all kinds of stuff in this. And
we're not actually supposed to be selling this book, Karen.
I know a lot of our viewers are going to be going out straight to buy this, but
and if you type in the special code Monster Talk, you'll not get any kind of discount for this.
No discount. But this is one of about 3 novels of his that have all been ghost written, I believe, by girlfriends of his, and that's another story.
Or women he's had affairs with. Yeah.
Wow.
And then there's this one. There's a whole bunch like this where he's basically training.
This one was current when we went to see him in Denver a couple of years ago.
If there's any good sort of online evidence-based sort of expose stuff we can link to in the show notes for this, would be great.
Oh, so, there is a lot.
Yeah. But I do like this shirt. I do like this shirt.
This is a great shirt. Yeah.
And I think, this is one thing that's interesting about his ministry. He's constantly begging for money and for support. He's constantly.
By the way, you can follow this show on patreon.com/monster talk. Sorry, I don't know why I said that.
If you would please save Monster Talk. Send us your money now, please. If you want us to continue. Yeah, that's what it was like seeing Bob Larson.
But he's pushing books, and he's pushing DVDs and T-shirts and just all kinds of stuff. But constantly claiming that his business is going under, and that you're either with him or you're with Satan, and that you need to buy all of his crap.
I'm suddenly imagining an atheist exorcism. Okay, all right. You're going to have to get up because demons aren't real. This just isn't working. All right. Nope. Get up. Let's go.
Yeah.
Speaking of other things he's pushing. Yes. This is
one of them is his daughter. So
yes,
hopefully
the tall one is his daughter, Bryn. And then those are her friends, and they are the teenage exorcists, although none of them are teenagers anymore. And I don't even know if they're still doing this. But they're so poor and everything. But now he's got her into writing books to teach people about how evil things are. And the funny thing is reading the reviews on this book, you got a ton of really positive reviews that are obviously all friends or congregation members. And then you've got one that's like, well, unlike her father, author who has other people write his books for him. She obviously did write this because it looks like a high school term paper. And it's really the only honest review on Amazon, and I recommend reading that review before you think about reading this book. But
speaking
the interesting thing
L.
is,
Ron Hubbard showed up in the notes, and he's got a pretty good similar policy, but you have to have a lot of followers to really make it to the top of the charts with that. I'll just have my congregation give me a 5-star.
Right. And if you want to learn any more about the connection between Aleister Crowley and L. Ron Hubbard, you can also get a little bit of that in this book here.
Chapter on Scientology. Yeah. So Matt, I mean, I think we've gone to 2 exorcisms together. Just typical date for a skeptic.
Date night. Yeah, it was date night.
What date what dates it appropriate to, have exorcism with each other? What
third date.
Third date. Yep.
Nice.
Yep. Second base on second date.
Yep.
And then it's exorcism time. And because anything else would be way too possessive. So the thing is, Bob Larson, he's an interesting guy because you walk into the room and he's immediately got the big screen TV playing videos of his exorcisms. Yep. So you're getting primed on what's going to happen. How are they being treated? What are they going to, what's the person being
exorcised? This is what you have to do.
So it's like this primer that you get right off. And then, he goes through a little bit of, prayer and singing. To hear him singing, Amazing Grace or any of those things is just so painful. Because he has one of these voices with everything he sings. And it's just, please stop the demons.
I look forward to the animated GIF of you doing that. That's going to be
Yes. Thank you for tipping off our viewers to do that immediately. But then he'll have a little bit of thing where he'll allow people to ask him questions. And so he's walking around the room and he's talking about how everybody in this room has been or is now possessed by a demon. Everyone in this room. So immediately I'm like, and he's like, yes. And I'm like, even you?
Yeah, that would be, but yeah.
I'm like, you, and he's like, no.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Nope.
Yeah.
Never been possessed and is not possessed. And it's just like, wow, that's pretty amazing. So it's what's good for the goose is not good for the gander in Bob Larson's eyes. He really does have this Christ complex. And in fact, he doesn't have that what would Jesus do thing. He has do what Jesus did. So he feels that he is doing what Jesus did.
Oh, yeah.
And, he lays out all these rules about whether the demon has the legal right to be there. And it's really confusing and complicated. But he does make sure that everybody is well primed on, you are possessed. And what you need to do is now let go. Let go and let that demon come to the surface. Think about the worst thing that's ever happened to you, is what he said. Think about the worst thing that's ever happened to you, and then just let your emotions flow. And he's walking around.
You've got people who are going there for a reason. I mean, people go there because they believe, but they've also had something bad happen to them, maybe misfortune of some kind. And so, I mean, people are already feeling very emotional when they're there. And so he just really tried to bring this out. I mean, it was psychological manipulation to get people to think of the worst thing that's ever happened to them. You could see people already tearing up or, bursting into tears. And I mean, it was just very manipulative to watch.
Yeah. I mean, this woman, where was she? I think she was sitting right in front of us. And she was trying so hard. Yeah, she was trying so hard to get Bob to choose her to do an exorcism on her. And she's like, and everything. And Bob's looking at her going, and just walks away. And I'm looking at him like, I hate you kind of thing. I'm hoping he would choose me because that'd be great, to get called up to do.
That would have been fun to watch in video.
Yeah, the video that would have been awesome. But he's just looking at me like, no, that one's not quite right.
I think he was a bit scared of you.
Yeah.
Well,
you were asking questions, and he didn't like that.
I was pushing his little buttons, so that wasn't really a good
he's reading the crowd though, like he's like literally reading the crowd.
He's
totally.
walking from person to person, just checking them out.
like stage hypnosis. He was going around the room looking for someone vulnerable, looking for someone that was going to play the game and act. And you never know too if he had plants in the audience as well, because we see that a lot, that he's brought along someone who's possessed.
Yeah,
But,
when he can't find someone, he will, default to one of those. But it's always better for him to get someone that is local to whatever areas he's in, and it is just a pure thing. But it's a lot of suggestibility. Like I said, everyone's been primed. They know how to behave because of popular culture. We all know the names of some demons, some
of the famous ones.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is, the name thing. I've seen some of the tapes of his shows, and shows is probably the right word. But the demons are things like jealousy and anger, like the 7 deadly sins are themselves demons.
Yes. And then so is Jezebel and
that one comes up a lot. Yeah.
So he's got his little group, but and all of these ones have been named in the videos that we all sat and watched at the beginning. So
wouldn't it be great to like have a bunch of like really good demon names and speak Latin and get in there and just like really scare him?
I was ready. I was ready for that.
We'll go along with Joe Laycock sometime and Natasha and scare the crap out of him.
I was ready to really start just bringing some stuff out that he would not have been prepared for. And it's
Nathrak.
E pluribus
Sumerian.
Pluribus unum. I had some great stuff going, but
it was a lot more superficial than that, and that's the disappointing thing for us too, that it was just so pathetic. It wasn't anything impressive.
So if he's going around and he thinks someone seems like they might be a good candidate, he'll place his hand on their head and see their reaction, and if they act the least bit violently, or whatever, then he's got a whole team of people to grab that person and drag him up to the front of the room.
He's got bouncers with him and, and just heavies. It's such a performance.
So before we get started, the one that we're going to be talking about, he did have the teenage exorcists with him, and I have some footage that we took of it. But I did want you to know there was a point where he took a break, and a lot of the women left the room. And he started saying to the men that were left in the room, "Hey, if you want to get a picture with the teenage exorcist, now's a good time because your wife's out of the room." And I thought
one of them is his daughter.
One of them is his daughter. I mean, sleaze, what a sleaze this guy is. But anyway, so he chooses this guy named Ben, and Ben is this kind of slacker guy. He didn't have not a motivation in life, but he's also getting to the point where he's a bit of a drinker, and his mother is convinced. Mom had taken him along because mom was convinced he was possessed. So I'll go ahead and share, and I do want to stop and talk about this. Oh, and I did want to say also that Bob Larson has sort of pioneered doing exorcisms via Skype.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And he's made their little bit.
$295.
Yeah, they are expensive. But I thought, what the heck?
You scared me. I thought he was on the call.
So, I thought, what the heck? This will be good. It didn't help, unfortunately. But anyway, let me get this up here, and hopefully I can get the sound and everything working, because this is a live show. So we never know how it's going to go.
But we could be possessed. So.
Yes. And optimize for a video clip. Okay, here we go. So let's see how this goes. So now they just have brought Ben up to the front of the class here. And sometimes it's hard to hear, so I apologize.
Do you know me? Do you know anything about me?
No, sir.
Oh, I am the real exorcist.
All right. What a pompous jackass right out of the gate. He's
that was the name of his failed reality TV show, though. The Real
Exorcist. Yeah. So he's tooting his horn right off the top there. So
there's his daughter there.
This is one of the that's his daughter.
I think I've got the pilot for that. I think the pilot episode for the Real Exorcist. I think
it didn't fly even with a pilot. So okay, we'll move on here.
Okay. Your mom didn't tell you? Did you know, Mom? You knew who I was. So you didn't know I was an exorcist. No, sir. Well? I'm gonna help you, Ben.
So that didn't look like it felt too good. He got hit in the gut with a Bible just then. I mean, I think that you could probably get away just from this footage, get away with assault charges on Bob for that, you know, because this kid's being held by guys. He didn't sign up for this, and then he gets punched in the gut by a Bible.
You get up and face me, Satan. You get up and face me. You get up and face me. You can't keep this man.
I can't believe none of these demons know karate.
Yeah, not one of them.
There was a murder 7 generations ago.
Okay, so he's telling his daughter that there was a murder 7 generations ago. That's why this demon is there. So he's going to basically hand the cross over to her to hop in and get rid of him. Now, they've already covered how evil Harry Potter is. I just want you to know. And I think that's ironic when you see how this goes.
7 generations is like that. Wow, that's a long time.
It's a long time. Yeah,
I mean, like that could be like 50 years in Georgia. It's like,
50?
That goes way back.
Call up the spirit of hate. Get it bound to everybody. Cast it out. Go for it. Girls, make sure you're... Come on in here, Savannah. I just want to make sure I got the microphone.
You cannot cross it. You cannot hurt us. It's hate, right? Hate.
So yeah, so she's double checking with Daddy. It's hate, right? Hate's we're getting rid of here. Smooth.
Mm-hmm.
Don, you might want to get a side shot over here. I can't see these.
Got to get good shot for the cameras, because what's more important, this guy's everlasting soul or good lighting?
Yep.
We're going after this thing. They're hanging on to you, Ben. Don't be afraid to let all hell break loose, okay?
So he's coaching him to make sure that he performs well during the exorcism. Let all hell break loose, Ben. It's okay.
Yep. Let it out.
They're not going to let you hurt anybody.
Okay, get up and face us, hate. Get up. Get up and face us. Open your eyes and look at me.
Come on, Savannah.
You don't have to go right anymore, do you? Do you? Yes or no? No?
Now, there's twice that he's called Savannah there in the black shirt to come over and stand next to him. And both times Savannah has elected to not stand next to Bob Larson. I just want to point that out.
No wonder. Yeah.
Gotta go then. You can't stay. Who else are under you? Who else is there? Are you Keith?
Okay. So during this time, what was a really popular TV show was Paranormal State. Do we know a demon that was probably mentioned every other show during that time?
I do.
Lyle.
Wait, no, you mean the bunny?
The particular name of the demon?
No, she got it. She got it.
Yep.
There. Answer me. From the sword of the
Belial!
There we go. Belial.
Belial. Anybody else?
Belial!
Isn't that enough?
Why not?
Oh, and Bob is so satisfied right now. And look at the smile. He is like, this is going well.
Getting off on it. Ugh.
He loves it. So now comes in some Harry Potter stuff.
Bind them all to Belial.
The threefold cord from Ecclesiastes 4:12, I bind hate and Belial together, and murder, you're all bound as one.
Fantastic. So I could not even bear to video any more of that. But yeah, so it's they did their own, best impression of Harry Potter there with their little spell they did at the end by binding them. But that's what we've got out there protecting our souls. And Bob Larson and the girls.
At the end of that, basically he'd set up with Ben an appointment for the next day to do a face-to-face exorcism with him. So clearly he needed more than just that. But then he started.
Does that come with a bill, a donation to the ministry requirement?
And that's where I'm going.
Very expensive.
Basically, they passed around the bucket and were asking everyone to donate $100 minimum, trying to push people to buy his DVDs and his books. And all of his merchandise, and I think he was there for a couple of days, so he was trying to bring people back to the next show as well. And I mean, he's just constantly begging for money.
Yeah, and he did say that everyone in here will donate a minimum of $100.
Patreon.com/monster talk.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know why I said that again. I did it
Please.
again. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's so weird. I hope
Better
I'm
us
okay.
than him. But
I've been waiting to use
yeah.
my magic wand all episode.
Yeah,
but-
he's it seems like he's been having a lot of success during COVID as well. A lot of people hoping that he can help them out with all the problems that they're suffering at this time, and certainly doing Skype exorcisms. And there was an article that was written about him recently, or a couple of years ago, about him doing Skype exorcisms, and they just kind of said, oh, well, we're going to do Twitter exorcisms, and he just said, oh, well, that would be ridiculous.
You can't exorcise a demon in 200
on Twitter and 180 characters.
Yeah. So you mentioned something about legality and demons. What was that about?
Well, there's several different things that give a demon legal right to be there, such as, if you're playing with a Ouija board, you've given the demon legal right.
It's part of the EULA. Nobody ever reads that. You
in.
just click OK to start playing with the Ouija. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that's how the human Sentai pad happened.
Yes, I was thinking of that. Yeah.
So it's the same thing. It's very, I mean, it's interesting to get to see one of these, but there were several exorcisms that took place. And I know that we're getting, past time here
already.
We're out of time, but I really do want to mention this other exorcism that took place, because it was heartbreaking to see this one. He brings up, and of course I did not video this one because it was a younger teenage girl that was brought up, and she was clearly in some heavy distress, and come to find out that she had been pregnant, and the had a miscarriage, and the dead baby was still inside of her. And so he is doing this big exorcism on her, and then at the end he says, because it was Jezebel who caused this whole problem. And at the end, he starts doing this whole thing of, Jesus, start this heart beating again. And he's doing this big thing, and very loud and bombastic about, bring this child back to life and have this heart beating again. And then under his breath, away from the microphone, we just happen to be sitting close enough to hear him, he says, unless it's not your will to have it be so. He just kind of whispers off to the side. And it was sickening.
Yeah.
Because now this poor girl is now in this situation that I don't even need to go into. Everybody can use their imaginations on where that, probably went. But it was
awful.
It was awful. And I think criminal charges should have been brought.
I mean, there's terrible. A lot about this that is silly and that we can laugh at. But certainly when it comes to something like this is really the dark side, the evil side of this kind of thing. And exactly why we can't look at it as just being something that we can dismiss. Oh, if it makes someone feel better, then is that okay? When we look at it as a whole, this is the kind of thing that's going on, and it's just wrong.
Yeah.
Having been to multiple Bob Larson exorcisms, having the opportunity to talk with him privately, I can tell you that there is nothing but dark side to Bob Larson. He has no light side. There's no harm in this. There is nothing with that with Bob Larson. He's
a dangerous guy.
He's the devil himself out there doing exorcisms, is what he is.
Yeah.
And I can't think of any other way to say it.
Wow.
So
depressing note to end on, but
so come on, give us a pun.
Yeah.
Cheer us up now. Come on, monkey.
Nothing good. I actually have a lot of discretion in my pun usage. People don't know that, but everything I've thought
People
of
don't know that.
around this is not appropriate for any recording whatsoever.
No.
So but in a pub sometime, so yeah. Anyway, I on a bright note, the good news is demons are not real. So they, you know,
But
that
Bob Larson is. So be careful.
Well,
Let's be careful.
I'm trying to lift the mood, man.
Well, I
Sorry.
think we can lift the mood by saying that Matt has another episode of Ask a Paranormal Investigator, which has
Cool.
come out on YouTube. And so you need to go and watch that, and more good stuff coming up. We've got another episode of Based on a True Story, or more possession there. But more episodes of Monster Talk, the regular podcast coming out soon, and lots of fun things on the way for everyone
Yes,
to
The Exorcism of Emily
enjoy.
Rose is the next one, because this is our month of possession. So I'll be working very hard to get that out before the end of the month.
I know that feeling. Yeah. Good luck
Well,
to you.
what
Thanks
about
for all
the
you do with that.
next? What about the next Monster Talk Live? I don't think we've even discussed it this time. Usually we have some idea floating around of what we
we've
want to
been
talk about.
talking about
We
doing
did.
the hairy hands.
Or
Or
we
maybe
did-
not.
Well, yeah, that we
did a hands
Haunted
episode
Hands.
already.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so
and we
I
talked
know
about
we're gonna
some hairy hands.
have to think about something maybe holiday related, Christmas related.
I think we might have had some suggestions as well. We might want to go back and take a look at. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
we'll come up with something good for the next month.
Yeah.
I guess, next month is wow, fast.
Yeah,
December.
yeah, this year is just
This
flown
year.
by.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Well,
But,
anyway, thanks
we-
everybody for joining us. Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, and yes, please do support us on Patreon, and do like and subscribe to this channel, and hit the little bell for notifications too, so that you'll be told when we're doing shows like this. We try to advertise them as much as we can, but I think there are always people left thinking, oh, I didn't see the ads and I wasn't notified. But if you click that bell, you'll be told.
And thanks for all the people who showed up live. It's really fun chatting with you guys. We really appreciate it. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you for watching us live. And we'll see you soon.
Happy Thanksgiving to those of you in the
Oh,
States.
yeah. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. Yeah.